It was New Year's Eve, the kind of night filled with laughter, sparkling lights, and promises for a fresh start. My son said he had to take a call and left the room, smiling like nothing was wrong. A few minutes later, my grandson ran back inside, his small body trembling, eyes wide, whispering words I couldn't fully understand. My heart raced, and a cold fear settled in my chest. What had he seen? Could it really be as bad as it sounded, or was my imagination feeding my worry? I needed to know, but I also feared the truth. Stay with me until the end, because what happened next changed everything for our family that night. It was New Year's Eve, and our house was filled with the kind of warmth only family gatherings can bring. The kitchen smelled of roasted vegetables and baked ham, the fire crackled softly in the living room, and laughter echoed off the walls. I had spent the afternoon decorating, making sure every detail was perfect for my son, my grandson, and the little bubble of happiness we had left in the world. He told me he had a call to take, his phone buzzing persistently in his hand. I didn't question him. He had always been busy, always on the move, like life itself had delegated him a schedule I couldn't comprehend. I watched him leave, and everything felt normal, or so I thought. Minutes later, I noticed my grandson standing in the hallway, frozen, small hands clutching the edges of his sweater. His eyes were wide, shimmering with something I had never seen before, fear. His mouth opened and closed like he was trying to speak, but no words came out at first. My chest tightened. "Grandpa, the boy finally whispered, voice trembling. He fell." The room seemed to shrink around me. I could feel my pulse in my throat, a sudden weight pressing down on my shoulders. I tried to steady my voice, to keep calm for him, but my own fear was growing in the spaces between my thoughts. I remembered the times I had let myself believe in safety, the way I held him as a baby, how I guided my son through scraped knees and broken toys, the long nights sitting by the fireplace, telling them stories until sleep took them. That trust, that belief that we could protect them, felt like it had been ripped away in a single moment. I ran after my grandson, and he led me outside into the chilly night. The snow was soft under our boots, a pristine blanket that made every sound sharper, every shadow deeper. He pointed toward the corner of the driveway where my son had disappeared moments before. And there he was, my son, lying on the ground, pale and unmoving. Time slowed. I could feel every heartbeat echoing in my ears, the world reduced to a single point of fear and disbelief. I knelt beside him, shaking his shoulder, calling his name. He groaned but didn't wake fully, and my mind raced. Was it an accident? Had he fallen in some strange way? Or was this something more, something I couldn't yet understand? I held his hand, my fingers trembling as I tried to measure his pulse. The cold night air bit at my face, but it was nothing compared to the cold sinking into my chest. I glanced at my grandson, who had buried his face into my coat, crying softly, too young to fully grasp what had just happened but old enough to sense the fragility of life in a way that terrified me. Memories of the past flashed in my mind. The promises we make to our children, the hope that they will never have to endure pain, the helplessness when life itself reminds you that control is an illusion. My son had always been strong, dependable, the kind of man who made you believe the world was predictable. And now he was vulnerable, lying before me like a reminder of everything I could not protect. As I called for help, my thoughts tumbled into what-ifs. What if we had seen the warning signs sooner? What if I had done something differently? My heart was a storm of guilt, fear, and helpless love, and my grandson's small, shivering body reminded me that life was fragile, more so than I had ever wanted to admit. By the time help arrived, I had memorized every detail, the snow-dusted driveway, the way the wind tugged at his hair, the way my grandson's little hands were clasped tightly around mine, as if I could transfer all my strength into him. And though paramedics took over, I could not let go. Not yet. Not until I understood what had happened, why this night, our night of celebration, had turned into a night of terror. We followed the ambulance to the hospital, my grandson clinging to me the whole way. Each step, each turn, each red light felt like it could stretch on forever. I tried to mask my panic, tried to whisper reassurances I didn't feel. And in that hallway, in the sterile fluorescent light, I realized something I had always known but never truly felt: life is unpredictably delicate, and those we love can be taken from us in ways that make no sense at all. Hours passed. I sat in the waiting room, staring at the clock, tracing memories of my son, his first steps, his first day of school, the way he had laughed when his little brother or sister stumbled. And I thought of my grandson, who had seen too much, too soon, his innocence interrupted by the rawness of fear and uncertainty. It wasn't just a moment of accident. It was a reminder that love, protection, and care are never guarantees. And as I waited, my mind spiraled into a single, impossible question: what if this changes everything? What if the family I thought I knew will never be the same again? Somewhere between the fear and the hope, I realized the story had just begun. The night had taken its first turn into tragedy, but it had also opened a door to truths that none of us were ready for, and I knew that by the time the story unfolded, nothing would ever feel ordinary again. The emergency room smelled of antiseptic and fear. My son lay on a gurney, his face pale, but his eyes flickered open when he saw me. Relief surged through me, but it was complicated, layered with worry that refused to leave. My grandson clung to my side, still trembling, his small hands refusing to let go. I could see the questions forming in his eyes, the ones he didn't yet have words for. The doctors explained what had happened: a sudden fainting spell caused by a previously undiagnosed heart condition. Nothing I could have prevented, nothing my son or I could have predicted. And yet, the truth was both terrifying and oddly reassuring. He was alive, he would recover, and this frightening night had not ended in the worst way imaginable. Even as relief began to settle, I noticed something deeper. My son, normally so self-assured, looked vulnerable in a way I had never seen. The strong, protective figure I had relied on for so many years was human, fallible, and fragile. And for the first time, I truly understood that love and family aren't about controlling outcomes, they're about presence, compassion, and being there when life falters. Later that night, back home, we sat together in the living room. The lights from the Christmas tree flickered softly, casting long shadows across the room. My grandson nestled between us, asking timid questions about what had happened. My son, still shaky, answered as best he could, his voice quieter, more thoughtful than usual. And I listened, realizing that these moments, these raw, imperfect moments, were teaching us something vital: resilience, understanding, and the fragile beauty of being alive. I thought back to the fear, the panic, the way my heart had twisted with every second that passed while we waited. And I understood something essential: grief, shock, and fear are not just moments of pain, they are teachers, guiding us toward deeper empathy, connection, and appreciation for the life we have, however unpredictable it may be. Over the next few days, our family found a new rhythm. My son's recovery was slow but steady, and my grandson's anxiety began to ease as he saw his father regain strength. Conversations grew more honest, more open, and the silent tensions we had never addressed bubbled to the surface in the safety of love and concern. It was uncomfortable at times, even painful, but necessary. And I found something within myself, too. I realized that I had spent so long trying to protect, control, and anticipate that I had forgotten the power of simple presence. Being there, holding hands, listening, comforting, these were the acts that mattered most. The panic of that night had reminded me of what really counts: connection, attention, and unwavering love. There was also forgiveness, an unexpected gift. My son and I had our differences, unspoken resentments, and moments of miscommunication that had lingered for years. But seeing him so fragile, so human, softened the edges of old grievances. My grandson's innocent fear reminded us that life's trials are shared, that our bonds are strengthened through adversity, and that the small acts of care we offer in moments of crisis resonate far beyond the immediate. Weeks later, the house felt different. Not in a material sense, but in energy. We had been tested, shaken, and reminded of our vulnerability, but we had also been given clarity, empathy, and a renewed appreciation for each other. My son, once distant in his busy routines, now paused, looked around, and noticed the quiet ways in which love manifests: a cup of tea made for a tired parent, a hug for a frightened child, a shared laugh over something silly that reminded us we were alive. And I knew, as I watched my grandson playing quietly by the fireplace, that the lessons of that night would stay with us. Life's fragility had become a teacher, and our family had grown stronger in response. We were more attentive, more patient, more aware of the present, and less willing to let fear dictate our relationships. I thought back to the moment he ran to me, shaking, his small voice broken with fear. I had been terrified, paralyzed by what I didn't know. But now, I could see it differently. That fear had been a bridge, an unspoken invitation to witness, protect, and connect in ways we hadn't before. It reminded me that moments of terror can transform into moments of growth, love, and understanding if we meet them with open hearts. By the end of the month, as the calendar flipped into January, I felt a sense of renewal. We were no longer the same family we had been. We had been tested by the unexpected, and through it, we had learned resilience, compassion, and the profound importance of presence. Life would continue to throw challenges our way, but now we faced them together, strengthened by the memory of a night that had begun in fear and ended with clarity, connection, and hope. And so, each New Year's Eve after that, I held my grandson a little closer, shared a quiet smile with my son, and remembered the night that had changed us forever, not because of loss, but because of the awakening it brought to our hearts.